Attorney Mark Cantor is here. He checks in with us about once a month, every 6 weeks. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Talked about what a sad Hanukkah this is, though.
It is a very sad one.
Yeah.
It's dark in the world, but, even one single candle pierces the darkness. And that's basically the Jewish story. And that's why we celebrated Hanukkah for thousands of years. It's perseverance, even in this darkness.
Tell me about Hanukkah. I've always understood it little, but I've never understood it a lot.
So Hanukkah is basically a war story. And it was the story of Jews surviving an attack from the Assyrians. And there was supposed to be enough oil for one night. And the oil lasted for 8 nights. And that's why it's called the Festival of Light. Uh-huh. But it's really about perseverance, about survival. In every generation, they've come to destroy us, and we've survived. So a little bit of light, a lot of perseverance pierces the darkness.
As a kid, was it, were you clocking like, okay, my friends over here having Christmas, we're having Hanukkah, they get this, I get that. Like, how was it as a child growing up?
I grew up in a bubble. So, I grew up in a Jewish home, and it wasn't competitive like that ever, and it's still not. Uh-huh. And, we're secular in the world, but religious in our home, and that's true for my children and my entire family. And our tradition has persevered for thousands of years. I did a DNA test. I'm 99.9% Ashkenazi Jew. I mean, that doesn't happen by coincidence.
Yeah.
That happens because we keep our traditions.
Yeah.
And so I never felt that way. And I love saying Merry Christmas to people. And my law firm, we had a Christmas party this weekend, and we had a Christmas party today, and we did the Secret Santas. And I love the American traditions. As a Jewish guy, I believe in many of the teachings of Jesus. I mean, he was a Jew, right? These acts of loving kindness, the things that Paul spoke about are all Jewish ideas. And so it's not a far cry. Do good, avoid evil. And that's what this celebration is. It's being good and doing the right thing. And there's so much evil in this world. I mean, you look at Beyond Beach and this terrible act of Islamic terror, which is what it is. It's an amazingly destructive force. And it's the same thing that happened in Israel on October 7th. It's ISIS-inspired rage and murder. And it needs to be stopped. So hopefully the world can do that.
Yeah. Masada? Is it Masada?
Masada.
Where you guys made your stand?
Yeah, Masada.
I love that story.
Yeah, Masada. You got to go to Israel and go to Masada. I mean, Masada is a really tragic story. I've been there. I've been to Israel 3 times since October 7th. I'm going in February just to do acts of loving kindness and to assist where we can assist. But Masada was a war story. And it's a mountaintop in the middle of the desert next to the Dead Sea, which is the lowest point on earth. And the Jews were under attack. They had fled from essentially Jerusalem to this mountaintop, and they were able to collect their own water and survive. And rather than be murdered by the Romans, they all committed suicide. And there was a Roman historian named Josephus that recorded it all. And so Masada is a truly remarkable survival story. But, Jews, we've been telling these war stories for thousands of years and surviving them because we persevere. And we will persevere here too. And, I believe that all Christians in America should support Israel. It's the foundation of Christianity and obviously Judaism. Jews are from Judea. So, it wasn't my intent to okay. Go this deep into it,
no,
but you ask me whatever you want, brother.
I enjoy talking about this. I just we found out that Rabbi Shmuel is a mutual friend, and he's been doing the show for 22, 23 of my 25 years. Consider him like a family member now. But he said something decades ago that stuck with me. He said that the concept of forgiveness and mercy was completely new to the world when the Jews introduced it.
Right.
Back during the Torah times.
So was the idea of a 6-day work week and rest on the 7th. I mean, the Sabbath. All these ideas are uniquely Jewish. It's all, that when we say the Judeo-Christian ethic, it all stems from Judaism. So yes, the rabbi's right about that. He's at Aish Torah, which is the fire of the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses, which is what you would consider your Old Testament. And I've been to Israel a few times with his co-rabbi, Rabbi Yosef David. So, yeah, they're both great men.
Yeah. Have you experienced discrimination yourself in your life?
Of course. I mean, when I went to school in Peoria, Illinois, they were marching with crosses, and there was a group called WAR, White Aryan Race, a guy named Matthew Hale, who later went to federal prison for threatening to kill a judge. I lived at the Hillel House, and he and his henchmen came, and I'm not a small guy, and I pushed one of them off, and it was a big hoorah, and the police and the whole bit. But yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the way this gets really bad is for good men to stand and do nothing and be silent, and there's been far too much of that. So, when we say these people are out there saying globalize the intifada, well, that's what happened in Australia. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? That means that they want to go, and it's not just Jews that these people want to kill. They're going to come and kill Christians. And, there's no surprise that they just foiled an attack that was going to be, some far left wing group that supports Palestine and is talking about Turtle Island, which is really America, was disrupted in California. No one should be shocked by that. These are terrorist groups. And they're, when good people stand silent, that's what happens.
Yeah. I've only really understood anything about extreme Islam or jihadism for, since probably in the late 70s when they, in Iran, they took over the embassy. And it's only been, 30, 40 years since then. But I just, as a modern thinker, I just keep thinking it can't be too many more generations where people of the Islamic faith or who think they're in the Islamic faith keep doing this stuff. It just seems that eventually a generation is going to go, let me get this straight. So you want me to live this kind of life? You want me to sacrifice my life so I can go get these 72 virgins? Like, no, Sale. No, I don't think so.
So you're thinking like a Westerner. So I studied War and Peace in the Middle East. I actually speak Hebrew and went to Hebrew U in Jerusalem. And you're thinking like a Westerner because you're holding those Judeo-Christian values, that we just talked about, acts of loving kindness. And they don't have that. I mean, when we're talking about brutality and to terrorize, they believe non-believers should be terrorized. And that's exactly what they're doing. So with all respect, Dave, that's a naive view. You would think that eventually they would just say, hey, this is ridiculous. We're not. But, that's what Hamas wants and wanted. They don't want a ceasefire. They want to destroy Jews and Christians in Israel, and that's what they're doing. That's their end goal. So really sad, but that's the deal.
Yeah. Do you so are you a religious Jew, secular Jew?
I'm a conservative Jew.
Okay.
So I'm not Orthodox, but I don't eat pork, and
yeah.
I don't.
But you believe in God's divine power to lead the Jewish nation where it should go.
Yeah, I mean, those that bless Israel are blessed, and those that curse Israel are cursed. And I do believe in God, and so yes, I'm a religious man. I'll light the Hanukkah menorah, and put it in my window every night for 8 nights. And this is a lesser of a holiday. This is not one of our big holidays, but it's an important holiday.
Yeah.
And so, yes.
Do you have, and I use the word reasonable, I hope that isn't offensive to you, but as an agnostic myself, do you have reasonable hope that things will get better and maybe even better for Israel during our lifetimes?
I would hope so, but it's not looking that way. Israel clearly won the last war against Iran and the Iranian proxies, Hezbollah, but they, and I don't know about Hamas. The jury's out still. They're still alive. They're not all dead, and they still want to kill Israel. So the real question is, what about the public opinion? When you see on Beyond Beach and in Australian airports, these pro-Palestinian people marching now and people supporting that, I mean, what kind of a sick, twisted world is that? They're celebrating the death and murder of innocents. I mean, for what reason? Because they're Jewish. They don't like that. That's, to me, is reprehensible and not a good sign. And again, I believe that everyone should stand against that.
Only a couple minutes left in our segment. This was really good, and I appreciate you talking about this. Infinitely more important than the law, but let's squeeze a couple things in here. It's wintertime. You've got slip and falls. You've got accidents. My daughter just had a tiny little fender bender on the Sunday after Thanksgiving. But having kids yourself, you just don't breathe until they're back to school driving on Highway 70. Just tips if someone does find themselves on the wrong end of an accident.
Well, a few things. First of all, the snow and ice doesn't lower your standard. It raises your standard. You have to drive with the highest degree of care, that degree of care that a very careful person uses under the same or similar circumstance. So you need to be protecting yourself before the accident to prevent it. And after the collision, you need to protect yourself from the insurance company cheating you, from taking a bad statement, from not getting the medical care that you need. And there's a lot of lawyers out there. I would suggest to your audience that you can count on Cantor. We're as good as they get. Cantor Injury Law is local. We're here. We're boots on the ground. We'll never sell you out. And, the fact that I'm on your radio station talking to you every 4, 5, 6 weeks, and we can have a free-flowing conversation about ideas. I'm local. I care about this community. And so I hope that if someone needs a great lawyer, that they call me at Cantor Injury Law. I'm Mark Cantor. I've got a great team. It's 314-628-9999. It's cantorinjurylaw.com. And we're here to help.
And don't underestimate the other side. They're good at what they do.
Right. They're great.
They're charming. They're not going to be mean to you. They're going to be the nicest people you've ever met to try to get you to settle for a couple $1,000.
Spoken like a lawyer that was on the wrong side.
That's right. That's Mark Cantor, Cantor Injury Law. Happy Hanukkah. All the best during the holidays.
Thank you, sir.